No, not yet. My friend here is watching what it looks like on. Yeah, there we are. Cool. Oh, good. Now it's just your slide. Excellent. Okay.
That's even
So
better.
I know it's great. Okay.
You want me
So
to, you want me to just to leave it like this and not start video? Is it better for you?
I'm gonna admit Greg, he's in. um Hi, Greg. And we're going live. So if you want to keep sharing your camera, you can, Greg, but you don't have to. But we are going to get started. We are live. Irv, let's see your camera.
Okay. Here I am.
Okay, there'll be a little lag. It's okay. Perfect. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to APS Stamp Chat here on Groundhog Day. Irv, tell me what it is called in Canada.
Oh, well, we look for Wyerton Willie today.
Wyerton Willie, and yeah. Regrettably, I know Phil saw his shadow. So your guy?
I'm not so sure today. I'm not. I don't know what the story is.
I understand. Well, for any of our friends that are living in the north, we hope that this fun craft will warm you up. And for our southern friends, well, we know how hot you are. So this is the perfect craft for you because it all has to do with Valentine's. And for anybody who's watched previous Stamp Chats, we've had Osterer on. He is a member of the SIP, the Society of Israel Philatelists, and also an APS member. He is a retired graphic arts teacher for secondary schools and just a phenomenal presenter, great teacher. And we thought that we would cook up something fun for Valentine's Day, and we'd give you plenty of notice so you could get your supplies and follow along whenever you like. So this is our very first craft along, and we're super excited to have Irv Osterer all the way from Canada joining us today. So Irv, thanks so much for coming on and for sharing this lovely craft, and congratulations to you and your wife on your new grandbaby.
Thank you so much. So I'm coming to you today, everybody. Thank you for dropping in. I'm coming to you from the coldest capital city officially in the world. I'm coming to you from Ottawa, Canada. So with Valentine's Day soon approaching, many of us are going to want to extend a warm Valentine's Day greeting to someone special. But this process is a little bit more complicated, seeing that we're all in the middle of a pandemic and access to greeting cards is a little bit more problematic. And that's where our great hobby can come into play. So there are many places in the continental United States that postmark their mail with beautiful Valentine's Day postmarks. So I thought it might be fun to invite everybody to partake in an exercise that would see you create your own cacheted envelope for this occasion. So what I'm going to do is do my best to walk you through the process. I'll explain things along the way. Some of you might have the materials at hand, and if not to worry. The process is simple, and many of you are going to have all these necessary tools at hand because I did it that way because I know people aren't as free to move around as they normally would like. So I tried to keep all the process and the materials simple, and you'll be able to do this on your own time. But it will have to be completed relatively soon as Valentine's Day is approaching. So first of all, you're going to need some envelopes. And I'm sure people have some envelopes around the house. It doesn't matter what kind of an envelope you have. It'll all work. Just to understand that the bigger the envelope, the more postage you might need on it. But all envelopes, even existing envelopes that are already commercially used, can be, printed and played with. So just a sec, I gotta get this going. So to make your envelope cachet. So this is how I'm going to start you out. You need a humble potato. Now here's one that I've sort of put out for you, just like this one. And I would advise a number 11 X-Acto knife. Now, There are other craft knives that you can get. These tend to work really well. If you're somebody of a certain vintage and you have a bit of a graphic arts background, everybody learn to sing and dance with these things. But I'm sure that you're all sitting at home wondering, what's this Canadian guy doing, telling us to get potatoes and foisting on this on us in the middle of a COVID crisis? Or is this kind of some kind of creative joke? And that's exactly what my graphic design class said a few years back. And when I told them they had to create an alphabet with potatoes. And so here's a picture of a project that I did. This is the first page of Genesis. So Johann Gutenberg, eat your heart out. This is done with a potato alphabet that we called Idaho Sans. I hope everybody gets the humor in that. And this is Rabbi Schlesinger coming and giving it his okay because he thought it was pretty funny. And the kids had some trouble with the spelling. And it was interesting because there was no delete key and they had to start over a few times. And so you can see that potatoes are really great to print with. So what you got to do is you got to carefully cut your potato in half. Now you have to make sure that you cut it in half so that when you put it down on a flat surface, it doesn't wobble. I would, again, get any external moisture. Sometimes when you cut the potatoes, they release a little bit of moisture. So you have some paper towels around to absorb all of that. So the next thing you got to do is you got to draw your shape on the potato. So a Sharpie marker or something like a Sharpie marker will work. And I've drawn a heart because I think that that's emblematic of Valentine's Day. The nice thing about a heart is that it's a symmetrical shape. So you don't have to worry, you're creating a stamp, so you don't have to worry about inverting the image like you would if you were making a capital B or a capital S. The heart, and I've made mine a perfectly symmetrical one, but you don't have to. So in other words, whatever shape heart you want to make, just do it. And the nice thing is that you've cut this potato in half, which means you actually have another potato that you can do this with as well. So you get that done, and now you got to cut this out. So what I would suggest that you do is take your X-Acto knife and take it and I would take it and put it down about a ½ an inch to a 3/4 of an inch. So I'd push the X-Acto knife down all the way around it. So you can see I'd be pushing it down from the top. So I wouldn't be cutting out the heart right away. And then after I had that done, then you slide the X-Acto knife in a horizontal fashion underneath about a ½ inch deep. And in that way you can weed out the excess potato, leaving the heart shape intact. So there you should be able to have something like that. And again, have some paper towels on hand because the potato is going to release a little bit of moisture. And don't worry if it's not perfectly symmetrical. Sometimes when they're a little loopy, they have a bit more character. And this gives you your perfect printing block. So this is what you're making. It's like sort of a rubber stamp, only it's made out of a potato. So now you have to put the potato aside. So now with your envelopes, it's not necessary to have a white envelope, and you could have them any size. This one here is a 6 3/4 inch wide or a number 8 envelope. And what I'm telling everybody to do to be on the safe side is to cut a stuffer card and put it inside the envelope before you do any of the art processes with it. This gives the envelope some stability. It makes it easier, and also it will allow it to go through the postal service with a little bit more structure as well. But you see that I've cut it so that it just fits inside, and it's a good time if you want to just to make your little Valentine's Day card out of the stuffer card and put it in. And for those of you that don't have white card around, you can use the front end of a cereal box, for instance, but anything that you could put inside to give the envelope some stability. It also does a couple of other things. You see that the lines on the back of the envelope that you can see from the folding and gluing and die cutting process, if you don't have a card in there, then those things might tend to show through when you try to make your stamped image. So everybody's with me? So I've given you this in terms of an instructional on this. It also helps, it gives you a little bit of a barrier. So if somehow some of your paint goes through it, it's not going to go through the rest of the envelope. But now, if you have an extra pair of hands, like a parental unit or a spouse or a child, it's good to have them to help with this process because it can get a bit messy in places. So my wife was there and she reluctantly helped me with all this stuff. And some of the things that you need. Now, these are, it's the fun part. So now you need an acrylic paint. Now, I'm really emphasizing that it has to be an acrylic paint. And what I did is, this is dollar store stuff. I think you guys have dollar stores in the States. If you can't, you can go to a place like Michael's in the States to have them. But just buy a bottle of acrylic. It doesn't matter what color you have. That will be up to you. Since it's a Valentine Day theme, I stuck with a sort of a red, carmine red, cadmium red, that kind of thing. And I've used a very inexpensive brush there as well. Now, it's really worth noting that when you buy paint, especially stuff like this, when it's on a store shelf, what I used to tell my students is you've got to make sure that all the yummies are mixed up. Paint is basically pigment and binder. That's what it's made up of. And what happens is the pigment is heavier than the binder, and over time it sort of settles to the bottom of the jar. What you want to do is you want to make sure that the paint is as homogeneous as possible. So you sort of shake it up rigorously, and then you know, when you take it out and you put it on a flat surface, I've used a paint palette here, but you don't need to. You can use a tabletop as well, or but it's a piece of glass, but something that isn't absorbent. And you take a brush and you really brush it out. You really brush it out. So you make sure that all the you know, in terms of an acrylic paint, you're talking about a polymer binder, that it's really evenly distributed in the paint that you're going to be using. And then once you have that done, you start the painting process. And again, I want to reiterate, don't use a water-based paint. Like the tempera paints, the water-based paints, the problem with them is that they will reactivate. So in other words, if any water or any moisture comes anywhere near it again, the paint will reactivate and will move. So remember that these envelopes are going to be delivered in the heart of winter. There might be snow, there might be a little bit of rain, and the postman doing the best he can to get these things from one place to another. Sometimes your envelope might be compromised and all your work will go down the drain. So acrylic paint, when it dries, is stable. So it's plastic paint. Now, one caveat is that it is most unforgiving. So if it gets on your clothes and you don't see it and wash it out real fast, it's going to be there. So you're going to have to sort of be careful, especially if you're working with kids. You have to be very, very careful that you sort of watch that during the whole process. So here you go. Here's you see the paint and the brush, and I'm putting the paint and working it in with my brush. You see that in this case, I'm saying not to add water. And the reason I'm telling you not to add water is because we're using the paint as an ink, not as a painting medium. We're really using it as an ink. So you want to make it smooth, but keep it relatively viscous. And you very carefully, with your brush, apply the paint to the potato. So there may be some of you that are doing this at the same time. I don't know, but again, very, very carefully apply it to the potato. You want to do it evenly. So when you take a look at this, you'll see that the paint, I did this on purpose, the paint is not even. You see that it has high spots. If it does have high spots, then when you go to print it, it will blot and smear. You really want to try to keep it as even as you possibly can. So this is a craft for any age. Like again, everybody has potatoes at home. Everybody has a painting medium at home of some kind. And if not, it's really easy to get. All these things are really fun and easy to come by. And I wanted to do this. And so I got my grandson, Joey, to partake in the process with me. So Joey is 2 years old and change. So I'm telling you that if Joey can do this, everybody can do this. And Joey had a blast. He looked at me with funny eyes and said, "Sadie, we're printing with potato?" And I said, "Yep, we're printing with a potato." And he thought that was very silly, but we did it anyway. So here's Joey beginning the printing process. And we're helping him, of course, making sure he doesn't get it all over himself. And you can see that it's a relatively happy activity for Joey. And there is Joey's hearts. So you see Joey has printed those two with a little bit of assistance onto an envelope. You see that envelope is a beige one. I picked out all the sort of loose envelopes that I had around the house, different colored ones, white ones, stuffed them up. And you can see that on Joey's envelope that the hearts aren't perfectly printed, which is fine. You've got a good base to work with. And he's ready to rock and roll for the next step. So I'm demonstrating here that when you do print as an adult, and even as an older teenager, try to do it with two hands, and that way the potato will not rock. You'll really get a nice, even print, like this one, and these. So these are all printed with the same. And you see that no two of them are the same. They're a little bit different, which is also cool. That's what you really want. And this is all original artwork. You know, we come from a time that everybody's cutting and pasting stuff from the internet. You know, I'm old school with a little bit of it. I think that the hand of the artist is great to have in any project. And these are all one-offs. No two envelopes that you're going to make are going to be the same. But again, I've simplified this process to make it a really fun time for everybody. So now, what I tell everybody is I let these things dry for about a half an hour, just to make sure. Sometimes if the paint is a little thicker, it takes a little bit longer to dry. So just make sure that it's all dry. And for the next portion of this, I have some other materials that I advise you to use. So Sharpie markers, first of all, I don't want to sound like I'm advertising for any products one way or the other. I'm just trying to give you guys some suggestions on what you can use. If you have markers that like a highlighter that isn't a Sharpie marker, that's fine too. But these things, I use materials when I was teaching high school in the classroom that were tried and true. So in other words, if they work and they work well, I use them even if they cost a few dollars more. So the Sharpies, they're terrific to use. They were fun to use. So you can get them in different colors. I've got a bright yellow one there. The Uniball black marker is just fantastic to use. It's great. It doesn't bleed, which is really important to me for a lot of the art projects I was doing in high school. Has a fine point, actually you can buy them in different points. I think you guys have Office Depot in the States. They would sell these things. The Sharpie markers are terrific too, but they tend to bleed a little bit, so you have to be careful. Stickers, again, you can go to dollar stores and buy different kinds of stickers. Whatever you find is fine. But pencil crayons, I'm going to give everybody a primer on pencil crayons. There are pencil crayons, and then there are pencil crayons. In my humble opinion, as an art teacher for 40 years, these are the Cadillac. If you've never used Prismacolor pencil crayons before, go and give them a try. They are more expensive, but there is no question that they, in my opinion, they're the best pencil crayon on the market. You see these have the name Scholar on them. You can see those are the student quality ones. They are fine. The professional ones are a little bit more, even more expensive. You can actually see YouTube videos on how to use these things. They are mint. I watched when I was teaching high school, I watched the students, their eyes light up when they made 1 or 2 strokes with these things. They know it, they realized that these things were completely different than anything they've used. You could also buy them color by color. So in other words, if you buy a set of them and you run out, you can buy a pencil, just one single one. And the gold and the silver pencils are just mint. They're just fabulous to use. So that's just sort of an art teacher's primer in terms of these kinds of materials. So what I did was I used a combination of these things. And again, concentrating on the shape, the strong shape. So I took the highlighter and I made a strong heart shape around the red hearts. And you can see I've used a second potato here as well. And after I did that, then I took the fine marker, the uniball marker, and I made a heart shape around it. So you see, by virtue of the material that you're using, the potato, you're not going to get the really, really crisp definition. The highlighter, you're going to get a thicker mark, but you also won't get exactly a perfect heart shape. But with the pen, you have far more control, and everybody's used a pen. It's really akin to writing. So it really lends itself to the finest detail. And then I took a red pencil crayon, a pink pencil crayon, filled in the negative pieces, and threw a couple of dot stickers down to fill in just to complete the image. Everybody can do this. There's not, and if I've got 30 people on today or 40 people on today, no 2 designs are going to be the same. Everybody's going to make different selections for stickers. You'll make different selections for colored pencils, inks, highlighters. They will all be wonderful, I guarantee it. So to give you an idea of some of the things that you might want to explore in terms of hearts and patterns and things, I thought that I would show you some stamps from around the world that celebrate Valentine's Day and the love theme. Now, I want to tell you that I'm not going to get into the history of Valentine's Day. Wikipedia does a great job with that kind of stuff. And I want to also emphasize that this all transcends any religious connotations or connections to it. Really, again, this holiday to a certain degree is celebrated all over the world, even by cultures that are far away from the Judeo-Christian traditions. What better thing to celebrate in this day and age than love? It's just a really nice thing to do. It costs nothing, it hurts no one, and it's fun. So I'll show you a few things. So here's some stamps. There's one from Holland, one from Vietnam, one from Australia, Slovenia, and one from Germany. You see they all have the heart shape in common, but they exploit it differently. This is one from the Philippines. These are from Ireland. Now, some countries go to town on this, and they release a love stamp every year. So thematically, for those of you that are interested in collecting, this would be a fun thing to do because they're not terribly expensive to put together, and the post offices want people to use them. So they're out there and they're available. And it's, again, interesting to look at the different styles. All of them have hearts with them. So these might not necessarily be exclusively for Valentine's Day. These are Swedish ones. Again, emphasizing the heart shape. The one on the left is a tattoo. The one on the right is traditional flowers, you know, and you have graffiti. You have all kinds of different ways of expressing the love theme. These are a little busy, but, you know, this was one solution that the post office came up with. Thailand has beautiful love stamps that they put out now every year. And a number of the area post offices in Bangkok have special Valentine's Day postmarks. So they just did these on their own, and I assembled a few of them for you to look at. And here's some of their Valentine's Day stamps. The ones on the bottom are nicely designed. really nice postmark too. You'd never think that Israel would be involved with Valentine's Day, but again, it does happen there. And Israel puts out a series of love stamps, be'ahava, with love. And you can see the really nice take on the love theme here. The one on the right is sign language for love, which I thought graphically is really one of the best that I've seen. It's just a terrific image and works really, really well. Very, very graphic. So it works well as a large stamp, as a large image and as a small stamp. And they also have these personalized stamps that I will talk to you about because other countries have jumped on this as well. In order to boost sales, you know, for people wanting to write letters, the post office has got the idea that if they allowed people to make their own stamps, that they would be more inclined to buy stamps and mail them. So you can see that this one is the heart part of it is the generic part, and the parts on the left side are things that artists have filled in. So here's some, and you can see that these are clearly earmarked for romantic occasions. And in Israel, there's actually a second love holiday in August, and it's called Tu B'Av. The Tu comes from the Hebrew letters Tet Vav, together say two. But you can see that on the bottom of the tabs, it has Liba and love and Amor and Hava and all the words that meaning love in different languages. So thematic collectors would like these. Finland has beautiful stamps. I really like Finnish design. These are really nicely done. And even the little tiny sticker, the one on the right, is really cool when you see it coming in on mail. And in Finland, they celebrate Valentine's Day as a friendship day as well. So here's sort of a friendship theme, beautiful pastel colors. France really goes to town on this. And what they've done in current years is they've sort of dedicated it thematically to fashion and haute couture. And they take the heart stamps, they put them out in booklets, it's in sheets, but this is just fabulous. Look at the beautiful, beautiful souvenir sheet. Very, very nicely designed. And here's some other ones. I love the Chanel stamp, which is sort of almost like a Marc Chagall drawing. The one on the left sort of is an old school drawing that was a pencil, crayon, and watercolor was put together. And it's a dedicated Valentine Day stamp rather than a heart stamp. And you can see that there's a place in France called Saint-Valentin. It's in the Loire Valley, and they issued a beautiful, beautiful Valentine Day stamp. Again, one of my favorite stamps. And this was illustrated by a cartoon illustrator whose name is Raymond Paynet. And his drawing is reproduced exquisitely on the stamp. And now the village has sort of adopted his work. And if you go there, if you happen to be in France on Valentine's Day and you go there, they will give you out this lover's certificate on Valentine's Day with Paynet's drawing. And now, since 1980, they postmark their mail with pictorial cancellations that are based on his drawings. So you can see, you see, first of all, you see the stamps that are now separated from sheets and are heart-shaped, and that the postmarks work really, really well. If you want one of these things, it probably is a little late this year, but you can write to them at the address below. If any of you know how to screen capture, it's probably easiest to do that. But I think Heidi in the end will have all these addresses that she can forward to you. But on a Mac, it's Command-Shift-3, and you can just sort of deal with it after. And there is a Windows command for screen capture that I think it's Alt screen capture that you put it together. So these are the ones from France. Japan has these beautiful heart stamps. Again, they wouldn't have Valentine's Day in the Judeo-Christian tradition, but they have a Valentine's Day where the men give gifts and the women give gifts. And these stamps are beautiful. They took advantage of the whole Hello Kitty thing, and they made all kinds of stuff with that. They have a postmark at the Tokyo Stamp Museum every year to Valentine's Day. And you can see that they write it out in Latin characters as well, because people from all over the world write in for these things and they send them out. And I put this one up because I thought it was cool. You see that Payette's cat drawing is on the French postcard here. So the guy from France that the Saint Valentine people really have adopted, his work is famous all over the world, and it was adopted for this postcard as well. This one I had a little bit more trouble finding for you, but I thought it was cool to see, you know, two opposite ends of the spectrum here, like a polar bear and a penguin exchanging a Valentine on, and some other heart-related stamps from Japan. In England, I love this one. I think this one's just a fantastic love stamp. They have smilers in England. So again, personalized postage. What happens is that the post offices give you 7 or 8 generic labels, and you have a horizontal plane to fill in. So if you can imagine this without the picture of the man and the woman there, that's how it would be sold. And then you would take a photograph with a strong horizontal bias, send it to the British Post Office. After it passes their censors, they would sell you these things in a sheet of 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 or whatever, and you would be able to use these things for domestic postage in England. They're terrific. Eh? They're just lots and lots of fun, especially this one that has a beautiful paper cut design beside it. The English did also issue a Valentine's Day stamp, and here this one is. Again, a Victorian Day, a Victorian card. And there's the postmark, and you see that the postmark there is from a lover who now, Lover Village in England, you can actually get a postmark from Lover in England, and that's what it looks like. And if anybody wants one of those, you can email these guys, and for $5 or $10 or whatever it is, they will send you a postmarked envelope with the stamp on it with this postmark from this year. So if you go to this website, you can get that. And here's a sort of a machine cancel that I thought was interesting as well. But by far and away, I just wanted to tell you that the best of all of these issues, all of these stamps, certainly comes from the United States. They are the leader in this, and they've done incredible things. And what they did, and as a design teacher, I really appreciate this, is they've really encouraged diversity. And from Robert Indiana's very, very famous image to all of these. And these are just spectacular. I haven't got all of them because it would take too long to put them through, but look at the diversity of images. And they're doing the best they can to represent different cultures, the Amish, the Polynesian cultures, the native cultures, the graphic designers. The one on the right looks like a cartoon from the New Yorker magazine. Color field studies. These are fantastic. One of my favorite designers in the States, lettering artist Jessica Hish. The forever ones at the bottom there are hers. And even candies and doilies, they are all there, and they're just beautiful stamps to use. So I encourage you to sort of pick up a few of these things if you can. Look at this one. And of course, the flowers and the hearts, which are normal things. Now you can write to all these, now you're going to have all these envelopes that you're going to be making. You can write, there's a pile of post offices in the United States that have Valentine's Day postmarks. They're station cancels. So in other words, they may not be available all year, but they are available for a specific time, probably at the end of January to the end of February. That's my guess. You have to do this to allow time. And I wanted just to show you, now this one's probably the best way to do this. Again, take a screen capture of this. And these are the ones I've been able, these may not be all of them, but these were the ones that I was able to personally verify. So all of these places, if you write to postmaster, just a sec, postmaster, Valentine remailing, and with the and apparently the suffix -9998 means a station cancel. So if you put that at the end of it, it will make it easier for the postal authorities to handle your request. And you can see that all these names have got something romantically to do with the Valentine Day period. So and for you teachers that are doing this, take the time to have your students write a letter to the post office. I made my kids do this. So it's sort of an extension of a learning experience. And most of them have never written a formal letter. They just do email. So tell them that for this, that you haven't got a choice. They can have that, and just a couple of sentences, just expressing their appreciation for the service, because the post offices do not charge for this, and sign it and send it off. So I just wanted to show you some of these things so that you have an idea of what you're going to be getting into. So some of them have been around for a long, long time. When you do send the envelopes, you got to make sure that you put stamps on them. The post offices here will not put the stamps on for you. So you have to do that, because otherwise they would have all kinds of problems sort of monitoring all the money and the funds and this and that. So so here are some. And what's interesting that I found is that newer isn't necessarily better. So in other words, today, the digital process makes these stamp things a lot easier to make. Like I can tell you that, like, from an Adobe Illustrator file, I can have a perfect design rubber stamp made really easily. But these other ones, you can see the evolution of the Valentine, Texas ones. You can see some of them came from crude drawings. And in some cases, the crude drawing is actually better than a refined thing. But that's, each has their own, the thing with this. This is just my take on all of it. The place here in Love Station in Valentine, Texas, has a contest for students to take part in every year to design the postmark. So this is, I think, no, not this one, but I have the current. There is a love stamp for this year. So here's from Loving, New Mexico, Montana, or Valentine's, Virginia, Loveland, Colorado. So I think in this case that the hand-drawn one is actually probably superior stylistically. But again, that's just my opinion. Valentine Station, Beauty, Kentucky, Love Park, Illinois. I wanted to show you this one. There is a Romeo, Michigan, and a Juliet, Georgia, and they sort of get together with these things because everybody wants to do the Romeo and Juliet thing. And one of my last field trips that I took to Europe was to Italy, and I took the students to Verona. Like, the bus driver said, "Hey, you want to go to Verona? It's on the way to Venice." I said, "Sure." So they took us to Verona. And of course, they took their phones and figured it all out. And there's a balcony that you can have one of the girls sit in, and you can have somebody read the part from Romeo at the bottom. And on the left, you see this statue of Juliet. And I don't want anybody to get any like terrible impressions about what's happening here, but apparently it's all kinds of good luck to rub the chest. And you see that it's an equal opportunity thing. Everybody does it. The poor gal doesn't have much left there because all the tourists are lined up to do this, but it's just a lot of fun. I thought I'd show you that. And here's the Romeo postmarks and the Juliet postmarks that you can get. Sorry, here you go. And I personally think this Romance, Arizona one is fantastic because it's got all the elements that I'm looking for, the pattern and the shape and the crazy typography and the arrows and the hearts, and I think it really, really works well. Even on a red envelope with black ink, I think it works reasonably well. Hartville, Wyoming. And I tried to cover all the bases with this. So like, there are people, I tell people that sometimes Valentine's Day is like a reminder, like what you haven't got. So for those people not quite feeling the love on Valentine's Day, there are a bunch of post offices in the United States that you can do stuff with as well. So I put these down for you. There's the Broken Arrow Station postmark, and I thought that if you really wanted to let somebody know how you feel, like a postcard from Sour Lake, Texas would just hit the spot. I'll let you my fun. And again, there is an X-rated postmark, but I regret to tell you that there is no special decorative postmark, much to a lot of people's chagrin, because I know they send mail there, but that's all you get if you send it to Intercourse, Pennsylvania. Canada Post I'm covering here, and we do not have a dedicated Valentine Day stamp. There is a semi-postal stamp that has a hand motif on it that I think is quite nice. The stamp to the right of it was designed by Joyce Weiland. If some of you have been to Toronto and been downtown, there's a large building at Ryerson College that has a huge linear mural on it. And Joyce Weiland did that. She's also famous, she's a very famous Canadian contemporary artist. She did something called the O Canada Tapestry, where she put lipstick on and kissed a fabric mouthing the words to our national anthem. And then after it was done, it was embroidered. It's a fabulous piece to look at. The bottom one is called Postal Indicia. That's relatively new to the philatelic world. And people that are selling Valentine's Day souvenirs, chocolates, and things like that, that would be a perfect thing to put on your correspondence coming from a store or retail outlet. Canada Post did try to make a Valentine thing one day. This is the only real sort of quasi Valentine Day stamp. It actually was in cooperation with Hallmark. So this was something that was sold by Canada Post, done by Hallmark with Canada Post. So that when you bought this thing and you did it all and sort of put it all together and folded it, it went out as sort of a Valentine's Day card, much like the old airgrams. They're very, very similar to that. I thought they were beautiful, really, really nicely designed, colored, but they only did them for 1 year. And I don't recall ever seeing one used, although I'm sure that there are some around. Picture postage is big in Canada, and these are some of the antecedents. They were sticker things that came out, and you can see that and one of the options was a heart. So you can see that this little label was 45 cents, and you put a heart on it. And you can see that if you got entrepreneurial, you could sort of make your own picture and sort of stick it in there as well. So they had this other series, which is a little newer. And you see that there's a Christmas one, and there's the Valentine Day with Love More. And you can see by the diagrams, you just peel the sticker out and you put it in. And so I did this, and I put Heidi into the one with the picture, because you could also order the ones with pictures. But I think you can see the problem with that is because that you could, there are all kinds of like nasty people out there too, and people could make those things. And because there was no safeguard on it, Canada Post had probably rethought this a little bit, and they moved into something like this. And this is just a hoot. I encourage everybody on today to go at one point, like make screen capture of this, go to picturepostage.ca. It's free to do this, to try it out. You can import a JPEG file or a PNG file, and you can sort of arrange it for a stamp, and you can see how it looks like. And these are my grandchildren. These are two of them. I think you heard Heidi tell me that I had a grandson born today, which is just wonderful, where my wife and I are related. But these two guys are with us, and I made a stamp with them, and you can see that it has the heart motif because it's one of the 9 or 10 generic motifs that they have. You see the little guy on the Canada Post ad is really a happy little guy too. You have to be careful. You can adjust and crop a little bit, but again, try it out. Just see what it looks like. And so I made a bunch of stamps up like this, and I use this all the time. It's lots and lots of fun, free to try out. And Canada does not have station postmarks. So, but we do have a couple of crazy places that have names like Cupid and Heart's Content and Saint Valentin and Love Saskatchewan. And these places postmark their mail with special Valentine Day postmarks. Although I think they postmark them all year long like this as well. So they just change the dates as they come, but you can see from these postmarks, not to degrade the other ones, that there's a lot of thought put into these to make them not only good from an illustrative point of view, but to have all the necessary compounds, all the contents that Canada Post itself would require on all their mail. So you can see that they're more formal than the ones that you saw from the United States and from Europe. So they're wonderful. They really look great. All the people in these Canadian post offices are happy to postmark these mails. And what I've done here is I've asked the postmaster from Love, Saskatchewan, Connie, to help me out, and she sort of pointed me to get some. So here's some pictures. Here's Love in Saskatchewan. This is what it looks like in the summertime. So this is the post office in Love. See, there's Teddy Bear Street there. Can't miss it. This is somebody holding up. I think the fellow that owns the concession is holding up the one of the first postmarks they had with the bear and holding a heart. And there's the postmaster, Connie, and she's holding up 3 of the postmarks that they're used. She also keeps a map and she marks it where all the postmarks are going to. It's a very, very busy time of the year for her. I invited her on today. I hope she was able to make it. And here she is again, and showing you some of the mail that she's getting from all over the world. And Connie, she will postmark your mail. Now, what you got to do is you got to write to Love, Saskatchewan. Here's the post office. And you can send, I have $1 there. It should be $2. So send $2 in US funds, $2 in US funds. And Connie will then affix your postage and cancel your envelopes and return them to you via Canada Post. So remember, it's $2, not $1. I just wanted to make sure that I emphasized that. I had this originally, and I erred when I put this thing in. So $2 US funds. And now your envelope should be all ready to put through the mail. So we'll get back to this. So here's Joey again, and bringing it back, he was making his envelope. And after everything was said and done and the exercise was finished, we decided, my wife and I decided, this was Joey's best effort. So you see that the red stamps that he did went on perfectly fine. They were very, very happy. But when we got to using the brown one, he got into a little bit more free form use of the potato. But he used the black marker. I thought he did a great job articulating the heart shape for a 2-year-old. And what we did was we put the stamp on there. So there it is. You can use labels if you'd like. Those of you that are adept with your printers can actually put mail labels and address them so that they're nice and clean. So here I put a label there because Joey really didn't leave a place that you could write it out. And this is what I do. I put them inside. Now, I bought these envelopes from Canada Post. You can buy them at Walmart. You can buy them from the United States Postal Service. They are the envelopes that are used to send pictures to people. They're stiffer. So they provide, again, stability when you send the stuff through. You can probably put 10 or 11 or 12. I think I put 15 envelopes into this and sent it off to Love, Saskatchewan. And this is what it came back like. Now, this is all done virtually. I've put this together. This might not be the postmark that Connie uses, but I just put this one in just to show you what your finished envelope could look like. So here's another one. So you see that the hearts, the highlighter, the Uniball pen, pencil crayons, and the stickers. There's the new Forever USA stamp. I encourage everybody to go out and buy these things. They're wonderful, really, really nicely colored. And this is what it would look like postmark. And again, I made this postmark. This is not what Loveland, the Valentine Station postmark would look like today in Colorado. This one is one that I cribbed and I just put a new date on it so that it'd give you an idea of what it would look like if it was canceled. And here's another one. Again, you see no two of them look the same. And you see they look cool. They look all right. And I decided that I would try a I would try to use a few colored envelopes as well. So you see that the paint goes on a little bit differently, but the Prismacolor pencils are wonderful. And I used red stickers on this. And then I cribbed this and put this Valentine's Day postmark on top. So like, I hope this is okay. It shows you all the really cool things that you can do. There's well over 30 Valentine station post offices in the United States, and they're all the ones I showed you in Canada. It might be a little late to send to Europe and Asia now, but at least now you know about it, and you could look into doing it next year. And assembling a collection of these things is not difficult and not expensive. You just get you go to the Office Depot, get a nice red binder, and sort of put these things together, and you can sort of make it a worthy philatelic adventure for your family. You could sort of participate in this every year. It's a great way to introduce people to the stamp collecting hobby. It can be seen as something you can engage in every year with family and friends. So happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And I want to encourage everybody, especially in these crazy times that we live in, that if you can do an act of kindness for somebody every day, please do so. It costs absolutely nothing to be nice. And that's what I got for you today.
Irv, that was so much fun. You covered all the bases. So we get stamps, we get for our Markopolis, we've got the postmark, the craft side of things, telling us about what was the best pencil. I mean, what a great presentation. And the Idaho Sans was awesome. The lettering. And I don't know what everybody else's screen looks like right now, but mine is just full of screenshots. What do you think, Greg? Greg also is a stamp chat presenter. And
Irv knows what I think. I don't have to tell him. I see Irv's work almost every day in some format, or today he translated some Yiddish on some 1930s Jewish Polish soldiers postcards I purchased. He's just amazing.
Well, the nice thing about this project is you can see that it's people, everybody can do this. There's no such thing as somebody saying, "Oh, I can't do this. I'm not artistic. I can't." That's how things go with this.
Irv, I got to interrupt you on that one. That's not true.
Well, no.
If you think my wife is letting me near potatoes and paint, you are sorely mistaken.
I'm telling you that everybody can do this, and it's a fun thing to do, especially given the fact that a lot of families, and I'm watching it here just on our local news. My son went back; he's a kindergarten teacher, and he's going to do this with his class. But they just went back to school today. A lot of people are in the same boat with their kids. They're looking for activities. They're looking for things to do because, things are locked up. This is really easy to do. Really easy to do.
And you showed it with your grandson doing it. And all of the items are easy to obtain.
It was just really the paints, the non-watercolor paints are really easy to get out of your clothes. I'm telling you, buddy, you're not getting me near that stuff.
Well, it was a fantastic lesson, Irv. This is one that is evergreen for all of, for years to come for Valentine's Day. The cancellations were fantastic. All of the great information, and then the encouragement to just go ahead and have fun and do it. So that's you in a nutshell.
How did I end up in this on the thing and not just watching it? Irv sent me.
You're live. You're live on Facebook with us, Greg. So right. Yeah, Greg, it's the SIPAPS.
It's good to be alive.
Yes,
good to be alive.
Yes,
it's good to be alive, and it's and truly, Irv, thank you for sharing. You know, that to share an act of kindness every day if we can. It doesn't cost a thing.
It doesn't cost a thing, and God knows at this time, you know, we need as much of that as we can possibly manage. Like, a lot of folks are really struggling with the pandemic. You know, like for people that are reasonably well off, they make do, but in a lot of places that people don't have the resources, it's been a real struggle. And not only has it been a real struggle, the incidence of COVID in a lot of these places is higher, and which makes it doubly hard. So if this can help a tiny bit, you know, I think it's great. I really encourage people to do this. The postmasters at all these station post offices are just tickled pink to do this. They love doing it, and I think they get volunteers from the community to come and do it. Connie is in Saskatchewan is terrific, and I did this project with my high school students for quite a few years, and again, for a lot of the kids, they've never written a letter, and they've never sent a letter, and they've never received a letter. Everything is by email today, so they have a chance to send these things to grandparents and to people in different cities, and the experience is really quite a unique one for them, and I think it's just a lot of fun, and it is a bridge into the collecting hobby. You can just collect heart stamps, you know, like they're fun, and there's no as my friend Gary Goodman says, there's no rules in terms of what you have to do. You put an album together, and you look for these things, and you collect them, and you put them together. So I'm going to have an album now that I'm going to just put heart stamps in from different parts of the world. And again, I'm going to try and send out a few invitations. I have a daughter-in-law that lives in New York, and I send her a Valentine every year from a different place. And
Jake, I mean, the lesson can, you know, as a teacher, for any of our friends who are teachers that are watching, I mean, you can get so many lesson plans out of this. You know, you could go the Flat Stanley route if you wanted to, or, you know, it's just such a great way to explore the world, and of course, communication, correspondence. So this was beautiful. Thank you so much, Irv, for joining us all the way from Canada. And thanks, Greg, for being on as well. And I can't wait to see everybody's Valentines. Please be sure, if you're going to make this craft, go ahead and take a picture and PM that, so you can send it in a message on Facebook. We would love to see your creations, and we will have a follow-up web story on stamps.org with a lot of the information that was presented today. So you can just kind of bookmark that and use it ad infinitum for every Valentine that comes. So thank you again so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care, and happy Valentine's Day.